This is your ultimate stop for everything sports. The Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast. Should I say more? From the NFL, MLB, the NBA to MMA, it's all in here. The Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast. Listen now.
All right, and welcome to the GSMC Sports Podcast. This episode is brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network, and as always, I am your host, Jesse Tapia. We usually don't lead off with boxing, but, we have to when it's Canelo Triple G. I'd say the biggest boxing fight of the year, and also it's a little bit of a special segment given we got Tate, the host of the GSMC MMA podcast, but pretty much our fight guy with the GSMC Podcast Network.
How y'all doing out there?
So, yeah, I wanted to start off with this Triple G and Canelo fight, and I got a little story for everyone, you included, Tate. So, obviously, we know the fight was taking place Saturday night. Me, being of Mexican descent and all that, it's a pretty big moment for us, always when a Mexican fighter is fighting. So, I have to work that day. I work from about 11 to 8. I'm off in time to get where I need to be to watch the fight. So my uncle it's his birthday. I'm not sure what the age was. Either way, they're having the fight there. So I get off. My phone is dead. I've had issues with my phone. And I'm trying to charge it because that's where I have the address on there. And I have really no contact with anyone else. I know how to get to Ceres and all, the city of Ceres and all. But I need to know how to get within the streets.
And so this is in the Stockton area or Sacramento?
This is more south of Modesto, like south of Stockton and all that. So I'm driving around, and again, I'm waiting for my phone to turn on because that's where I have the address. Turns out, phone doesn't turn on till about 9:30. So you have me basically searching the streets of Ceres for my uncle's house. Could never find it. I did pass a house where they had the fight on in the front yard, but I felt it'd be a bit weird.
I was going to say, did you really go to someone's stranger's house?
No, like I said, I saw someone in their front yard. They had the fight on in the front yard or whatnot, a big TV on there, but I felt it'd be a bit weird for me to park in a black car. Ceres isn't necessarily the best area, so I feel like it'd be weird for me to park there and just chill there and watch the fight. So I feel like I had to keep driving around. Either way, the point of the story is I didn't get to watch the fight Saturday night. Thankfully, my brother had his friends over at my house. He recorded the fight, so I didn't get to watch the fight till Sunday morning.
Okay. Yeah. So you had intentions on watching the fight, but you did not see it live. So did you actually know who won by then?
Yeah, I listened to the postgame on my because I have the little Sirius XM radio on my car and whatnot, so I was listening to the post fight reactions and all. But yeah, didn't really get to watch the fight itself till Sunday morning. But I will say, I like watching the fight after the fact it takes place because, like I said, if I would have went to my uncle's house, like the atmosphere would have been high, would have been more of a fan. But this one, I'm really watching it more to see, like watching it as like just a guy like scoring it, you know?
Okay, I agree with you 100%. Now, I do the MMA show, and I watch a lot of MMA, and from UFC, Bellator, to One Championship to Invicta. And when you're watching a fight, most people are fans, and it's just about he threw one hard shot, so he's tough. Oh my God, he's killing him, and they miss the strategy. It can take away from the fight because an audience that, let's say in your case, everyone's there Mexican descendant, they really want Canelo to win. So everyone's cheering and everyone wants Canelo to win. And everything that Canelo lands is the greatest thing ever. Opposed to let's say if you were talking to someone with more of a Russian descent or Canelo's. Where's Canelo from again?
I don't know what specific area of Mexico, but he's from Mexico.
Not Canelo, but Triple D.
I think he's from...
Is it Dagestan?
It's like Kazakhstan, I think.
Yeah, one of the stands.
Russian area, yeah.
And if you had a whole audience from there, it's going to be biased there, and it definitely does affect the way you look and score a fight. That's one of the reasons why when I'm looking at a major event, even if I go to a UFC event or a Bellator event, I never make my final judgment on a fight until I go back home and actually watch the fight by myself. Nobody else in the room, just me. You'll get a much clearer picture. And with the Canelo Triple G fight, one of the things I did was I actually watched the fight, let the hype die down a little bit, and then listen to what all the analysts were saying, and then I went back and watched it again, and I scored the fight again afterwards.
Yeah, and like I said, I watched the fight Sunday morning, was just by myself, no one else around me, just me in the fight, and I'm a big boxing guy. Boxing isn't necessarily the biggest sport anymore, but I'm still in love with boxing and all. And watching the fight, I would say, I'm not sure if you would, but it seemed like they kind of switched their styles a bit. Canelo was more of the aggressor. Triple G was more of the sit back and pick your shots.
It was the same fight. They just traded jobs. It was really the same fight, just like you said. Each fighter ended up taking a different approach, which I thought was fascinating, that they came in with the strategy of, I'm going to do the opposite of what I did this last time, something that he wouldn't be expected, and ended up with kind of the exact same fight.
And before we get into our total thoughts, let me give a update on, well, not an update, but recap on the scorecard for those that didn't get to see it or don't remember it. One judge had it as a 114 draw. The other two had it 115 with Canelo taking it, Canelo winning by majority decision. And from the last fight, you disagree with me. I agreed with the judges. I thought before the scorecard was even given out for the first fight, I thought it was a draw. You thought differently.
Okay, I'm going to ask you a question. And this tells you everything you need to know. Who won the last round?
The last round of this fight?
Yes.
Triple G.
Triple G clearly won it, right?
Yes.
Do you understand that one of the judges gave Canelo the last round? If that judge does not give Canelo the last round, it's a draw.
That makes sense. I don't see how you give Canelo...
How do you give Canelo that last round?
I don't see how you give Canelo any of the last 3 rounds, honestly.
Yes. I looked at this fight, and I watched it twice. I scored it twice, and I had it a very, very close fight, but I had Triple G winning. And I even said, if it was a draw, it totally makes sense. But when you look at the judges' scorecard and it gets down to the wire and one of the judges gives, there's no way Helen Keller, Stevie Wonder, and Ray Charles would have all given that round to Triple G. But yet one judge gave it to Canelo. How is that possible?
Yeah, I don't see. I'm looking at the official scorecard right now, and actually looking at it, both of the judges that gave the win to Canelo actually gave him that last round.
How is that possible?
I don't see how. The man that gave him scored the draw gave Triple G that last round. So
actually, then, if you look at it, you take that and you reverse that score. You said, who gave it to Triple G? I mean, who gave it to Canelo?
The two that scored at 115 for Canelo gave Canelo that last round.
How is that possible?
Honestly,
this is my only complaint when it comes to this. When I look at the score, I gave Canelo the win. But when I go through and I look at this and I say this could be Triple G's win or a draw, and then you go down and you say reverse those scores, and you give all 3 judges give that round to Triple G, which he should have won. Mm-hmm. Worst case scenario, it's either Triple G wins or it's a draw.
Yeah, because, I mean, the way I look at it, I had Canelo losing that first round, and I thought he took a lot of those middle rounds. And then Triple G, I feel like it was a little too late, because he started throwing combos in those later rounds. And a lot of the middle ones, he was more so hitting Canelo with a jab, but wasn't going body or anything like that. And I think that's what hurt him in this fight.
Now, I don't have a problem with the score. I have a problem with that last round.
Yeah, last round, I agree with you.
You agree?
Yeah.
And so even if you're using those judges, Triple G either wins or a draw just from that.
Yeah.
But there are so many rounds that I gave to either Canelo or Triple G that could have went either way, and a judge could have just flipped a coin and just said, okay, I just want Canelo to win. So I understood that. Like I said, I just go back to those last rounds where it was just obvious who won the rounds. That's when I had a problem with the scoring.
Yeah, and boxing's always had this problem, and I think this is what's kind of held it back. We've always had this problem with the scorecards. Somehow, some way, there's always that one round. I was like, wait, I mean, I think we all pretty much know that this guy definitely won that round. You could definitely tell that with the 12th round. I mean, like I said, I think Triple G won, definitely. Not even close, by the way, those last few rounds.
Now, and this is my big... and MMA doesn't have the black eye like boxing does, but one of the things that I have said about MMA, boxing, and any sport like this, if you watch an NFL game and you're watching the Patriots and the Steelers play, and it's the fourth quarter and you're cheering... They don't hide the score from you. You don't know it's 35-10. I mean, you know it's 35-10. Imagine you're sitting there and you're watching the game and you're like, I don't know what the score is, but when the horns sound, then they'll give us the final score. That's crazy. I think boxing and MMA should score the fight like they do all other sports. There should be a scoreboard up, and think about those last 3 rounds of how this fight would have been if you'd have looked at the scores and saw where things were at. You would have had fireworks.
I see what you're saying there, but then the counterpoint, I don't really disagree with you, but I'm just kind of arguing against you at this point. What if you got this fighter, you could tell he's won about the first 6 rounds or whatnot. He knows he's up, and he knows I don't necessarily have to go at this guy. I just got to win on points. Is there anything that can kind of affect a fight that way? Like, there's kind of a mystique with not knowing...
Well, I mean, and I know we're getting off the beaten path a little bit, but there's a couple of things that can be done. There's other organizations that used to be around in MMA where there's a bigger bonus for a finish. So you get extra money for a finish. That money gets divided up, and you get a big bonus at the end if you finish. There's also a way to punish a fighter where you can, in Pride, they would give you a red card if you were stalling, and if you had a lead and you start stalling, you could get punished for that, and you could lose points. But I think boxing needs that. It would add more excitement, especially let's say you are a fighter, and like you said, you're down 6 rounds, and the guy starts coasting. Well, you know you're down. You're the guy that's down. You go on a tear. And you win one round after another, the next round after the next round. Momentum is a big factor in boxing and MMA. And you get the momentum going in the right direction. There's stoppage. There's 10-8 rounds. It's still within hand. And I think if Triple G looks at this and he sees the score and he sees the score is not going his way, I think you would have got a very different Triple G down the stretch, even though I thought he finished down the stretch strong. I think he might have even finished even stronger.
Possibly. And like I said, I mean, watching Triple G in those last few rounds, I feel like if he would have did more of that throughout the fight rather than... Because I kind of feel like he just turned it on like towards the end. I feel like if he would have did that more so towards like for the entire fight, I know that's tough given... I mean, these fighters get tired and all that, but I just feel like I said, it was just a little too late type of thing with him.
You know, it's kind of funny because when I was watching the fight initially, I kind of felt that way about Canelo.
Oh, really?
Yes, I kind of felt like Canelo's going to regret this. There's a point where he, toward the end down the stretch, where I'm like, Canelo's not leaving it all in the ring. And down the stretch, I'm like, he's going to regret this because he's going to lose this fight because he didn't lay it all on the line at the very end.
Yeah.
And you're right and I'm wrong because the judges agreed with you. But, boxing just always has a smelly odor to it. And that last round, if you, like I said, you go back to that scorecard and you see the last round, there's no way you can score that for Canelo. And if you try to score it for Triple G, it's either a draw or Canelo. I mean, it's either Triple G wins or it's a draw. It does not. That's kind of puts a little. You
think maybe, and again, it is boxing we're talking about, so I think we can have this conversation. It's
not
kind of
only
like,
is it boxing, it's also De La Hoya. I'm sorry to say that, but
I'm with you there. Don't worry about that
yes,
one. But
Mr. President De La Hoya, who wants to run for president.
I will vote against him, no doubt. But when you kind of think it's kind of one where the judges maybe we can't have 2 back-to-back draws. Maybe that's what went into the thinking of the 12th round.
You know what? Maybe that was the thought process. Because I look at this and I'm like, it should have been. I mean, a draw would have been like the perfect decision. Even though a draw kind of sucks, and like you were saying, in football they should do away with draws. It was a draw, really.
Yeah.
I had it a draw or Triple G. You had a Canelo,
but I could have seen it going a draw or Triple G's way. I mean, like I said, a lot of those middle rounds it could have gone either way.
Yeah, if there ever was two guys that matched up well, and you know. And I'm going to say this about Triple G. I think a weird thing happened in this fight, and I noticed this, and I went back and I watched it again. In the early rounds, Triple G started to get winded very early.
I could see that too. I could tell he was tired a bit.
And I also thought Triple G aged a little bit, and that came with the lack of gas tank. I think the age factor was a big factor in this, because Triple G definitely had to pace himself because he was getting winded and he couldn't keep the pace that he had in the very first fight.
Yeah, definitely. You think maybe it has to do with maybe Canelo going out? I don't think Triple G in his past fights has really ever had to go toe-to-toe with someone. He's more so been the aggressor, and the guys he's been fighting has been more so the guy on the back end, the defense type of thing. I was looking at that, and you go back and you watch that first fight, and one of the things I did was I went back before this fight. I actually watched the first fight, and so I watched the first fight again, which I still had Triple G winning, and I went back and I watched it, and Triple G had a much faster pace the first fight, but this fight Triple G had a slower pace, but got winded. Canelo stayed strong all the way through. It could be those Chipotle burritos he's been getting. I don't know.
I know you didn't want to bring that up, but those tacos are strong.
Yeah. And then one more talking point too. So scorecard aside, I mean, whether you think Triple G won, Canelo won, or draw, I saw a lot on social media, especially Twitter, the phrase highway robbery, which we see a lot with boxing now thrown around. Do you think Canelo winning was highway robbery?
Absolutely not. Now, I have just openly talked about that scorecard. I openly talked about how I watched the fight twice, and it was Triple G's fight. But like I said, there was some rounds that were super, super close. And if you look at it a little different way, technically, because some of those rounds were so close, and let's just say you came in with a bias toward Canelo, and you gave every round that was close to Canelo, it's a wipeout. If you take the approach that you're biased toward Triple G, it's a wipeout. And here's the reason why, once again, I think it should have went to Triple G. Triple G was the champ. And if you take the old approach that you have to take the title from the champ, he did not take that title from the champ.
Definitely, you got to for sure win, and it's got to be.
Now, do you feel like he took the title from the champ?
Like I said, I had him winning, but I don't think it was. Yes, Canelo definitely won this fight.
You're looking at Triple G, who holds 4, 5 world titles. Canelo is the challenger. He's holding 5 belts. Did he do enough to take the title from Triple G? Because in my opinion, if he held serve and it's just a draw, the draw goes to the champ. If you look at some of those rounds and you're saying who won these rounds, because there's many of them, I'm like, my goodness, I don't know who won this round. And you just say, oh, and I didn't do this, but if you just said, oh, I don't know who won this round, it goes to the champ. Triple G wins this with ease.
Yeah, with the old school approach, Canelo's got to be the one who wins those last 3 rounds, and not Triple G.
Yeah, and do you like that approach that the champ, you have to take the title from the champ?
It's nice, but again, I mean, you can't apply that to the scorecards, I guess.
I understand where you're coming from, but I'm just saying, when I look at that was one of the things that really I took in account after the fight, after I watched it a couple of times, because I knew that you thought that he won, and then I went through and I went to Facebook, I went to a couple of websites where a lot of people thought Triple G won. There was a bunch of people that thought Canelo won. To be honest, it was just split down the middle.
Yeah.
And you could literally make a case. That's the reason why I said no, I don't think he was ripped off, because there was just as many people that thought Canelo won as who thought Triple G won, who thought it was to a draw. It was, 33%, 33 and a third percent for Canelo, 33 and a third for Triple G, 33 and a third for draw.
Yeah, and for those who really want to see a highway robbery for a fight, it's a bit harsh, but you can go watch some of Julio Cesar Chavez Jr.'s fights.
Pernell Whitaker. That Pernell Whitaker fight was the biggest rip-off of all time.
Definitely. That's what a highway robbery is. But like I said, I mean, it could have gone either way. I would have been fine with Triple G winning. I would have been fine with a draw. But personally, I think that Canelo did enough early on to get those points.
Okay, and I didn't agree with you on that part.
Oh.
That part I didn't agree, but I did think that Canelo took a lot of the early rounds, but it was like Triple G was that thoroughbred horse who just really finished down the stretch and finished like a champ. That's another thing that what I really liked about the way Triple G handled things was down the stretch he fought like a champ. The championship rounds belong to Triple G.
Yeah, I can agree with what you're saying there. And then right before we end it, are we all for a third fight?
Okay, we are not ending it because I have something else to bring up to you.
Oh.
But I shouldn't say that because this is his show and I'm like taking over the show.
You're a big boss man.
But without question, it's a third fight. My fear is that will there be a third fight? With the fact that I think this is Triple G's last fight with HBO. If there's a third fight, do not be surprised if this don't come on as a free fight and it doesn't end up on like an ESPN type situation. That would not shock me. With everything that's going on in boxing, making a big change, it seems like from everything that I am seeing, not ESPN, but HBO is slowly getting out of boxing. And with some of the new agreements that are coming in and some of the fighters that they are not renewing, it seems like HBO has decided to wash their hands of boxing and ESPN is starting to dive into boxing.
Yeah.
Do not be surprised if that next fight ends up on an HBO type card. Now, you want to go and you finish first, but you say that, then I'll give you my little.
I feel like you have another point.
I have a totally separate comment to make. Question for you. So, is there anything else you want to say about the Triple G fight before I throw my curveball at you?
I'm okay on the Triple G fight. Kind of feel like you might be heading towards a Floyd and Pacquiao type of tidbit here.
Floyd Mayweather announced that him and Manny Pacquiao will be fighting this year, 2018, Floyd versus Manny Pacquiao. First off, question number one, what was your thoughts when you heard this? Number two, are you excited?
Okay, so question number one, I saw that he posted on his Instagram, I believe it was. Did he post a picture of a contract that was signed by the both?
I don't know about that.
If I need to see both signatures on a contract, I need to see it's official.
I know for a fact that Manny has been begging for that fight, and he doesn't have to do that because Floyd just saying that he can fight can bring in more money for Manny Pacquiao than Manny Pacquiao could ever make fighting anyone. I don't care if he decided to fight Santa Claus and the Easter Bunny. He can't make Mayweather money.
Definitely not, but I would like to see Pacquiao versus those two. Either way, I think for me to fully buy into it. I need to see ESPN, some fighting website or whatnot, saying yes, this is happening.
I checked at least 6 different websites. ESPN was one of them. CBS was another one, and Ring Magazine as well. And they all said this fight is happening.
If this fight is happening, I'm all for it. I won't be paying for it, mainly because someone else will, but I will definitely be watching it. I will definitely, my excitement will be through the roof for it. The last fight, I think people were kind of expecting more. Either way, boxing is about draws, and I could go for another Mayweather and Pacquiao fight, even though Pacquiao seems to be he is past his prime.
Okay, when I saw this, the first thing that came out of my mouth was, no, why? No. And I was just so disappointed. I'm disappointed in Floyd. He has his 50-0. He has his big payday with Conor McGregor. To be perfectly honest, I'd have been happier for a Conor McGregor Floyd Mayweather rematch than this Pacquiao one. I don't want to see. For some reason, I don't want to see this.
I'll be excited for it, mainly because it's just 2 big names in boxing. But what's the point for Floyd doing this?
CSC.
You're gonna have to explain that one to me.
Cash, sweet cash.
Yeah, I guess a businessman like Floyd can never make enough money, I guess.
But I'm going to tell you this. You want to make an intriguing fight. I watched that Canelo Triple G fight. I watched Floyd. Yes, Floyd is older, but Floyd dominated Canelo.
Oh yeah, it wasn't even close.
Dominated. Yes, Floyd is older, but the style is still the same. I think it would be a closer fight this time, but a Canelo Floyd Mayweather fight, oh my God, I would so sign up for that one. Now that's a mega fight I would want to see, because when I look at Floyd and what Floyd does, Canelo hasn't changed at all. Canelo will come forward and still keep coming at you, and Floyd can still pot shot him.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, I would still take an old Floyd Mayweather, but he would get a lot more shots in. Canelo would get a lot more shots in because God knows he can't get any less shots in from the last fight.
Yeah.
He got annihilated the last time, but I think it'd be a much closer fight. It would be, matter of fact, I think better than the Triple G Canelo fight. A lot more intriguing at a much higher stakes. I would rather see that than the Manny Pacquiao, where Manny, the only thing I give Manny a shot at doing, and I have a lot of friends and a lot of followers in the Philippines, and I know how much you guys love Manny Pacquiao, and I talk to so many people in the Philippines, but unless he gets lucky and lands a lucky shot on Floyd, and Floyd develops osteoporosis in the meantime, I don't think it's going to be a fight.
Yeah, I could see that. Now when you see Manny Pacquiao is going to be fighting so-and-so, Manny Pacquiao is not a pay-per-view draw anymore. I just don't, Manny Pacquiao just doesn't move the needle for me anymore, I'd say. So yeah, I'd be all for a Canelo-Floyd rematch, definitely. Because, after that first fight with Canelo and Floyd, Floyd exposed Canelo's footwork. It was ridiculous. Then you saw Canelo fight Lara after that, and even Lara, maybe should have won that fight. But
now, if you said Floyd versus Canelo, I would take Floyd. If you said Manny versus Canelo, how would you take it?
Give me Canelo in 7-8 rounds.
An annihilation,
yeah,
right?
Definitely.
Canelo would destroy him.
Yes.
That's why that shouldn't be the fight. If Floyd's going to come back and fight anyone, give Canelo another shot.
Yeah.
That's the fight to have. I don't want to see, let's say if Manny was to win and he got a lucky shot in, because that's the only way I see him winning. He's not going to outpoint Floyd, or unless you get some crazy Bob Arum referees and judges in there and they pull off a ripoff. Floyd has his 50-0. Even if Manny wins, then your next thing you know, you're setting up a rubber match, which I don't want to see at all.
Yeah, if Manny wins the second, you definitely have to have a third.
I don't even want to see the rubber match or this match. And I'm a huge Floyd Mayweather fan. I'm a huge boxing fan. This fight, I don't want it to happen.
Yeah, I see you kind of swayed me to the other side. I think Manny versus Floyd, number 1, should have been left alone. Fight of the century type of thing. We move on from it.
Yes. But from there, I'm not excited about it at all. Zero. I'm way more excited. I'd be more excited about seeing Conor McGregor fight him again, to be honest with you.
You say you're not excited, but will you be watching that night if it does happen?
I host the MMA show, the women's MMA show. Of course, I'm a combat sports guy. I'm watching 2 women I've never seen a day in my life fight in Malaysia. Of course, I'm gonna watch Floyd and Manny just because of what I do for a living.
Just doing your due diligence.
So I have no choice.
Yeah.
But
if you didn't have to, if you didn't do the shows, it's just you're a fan. Do I want to watch this fight?
I would wake up in the morning and I would turn on ESPN and say, "Oh, Floyd won," and then I would turn back over and turn the TV off and go to sleep.
You got me laughing on that one. I mean, you point out all the right reasons again. I mean, I think that's a good note to end on right there.
I agree with you.
Yeah, so we're going to go ahead and wrap it up there again to recap. Canelo beats Triple G by majority decision. 2 judges giving him the 115-113 decision. 1 judge scoring it a 114-114 draw. And, of course, the news of, supposedly, I guess, seems it's official, Floyd and Manny Pacquiao fighting at the end of this year. So, thanks, Tate, for coming on for this first segment. Always good to talk fighting, boxing, MMA, whatnot with you.
Always. It's a pleasure.
So for the next segment, Tate will be gone, but I will still be here, and I will be recapping this week, or week 2 in the NFL for you guys. So stay tuned for that, and I will be right back.
The average sedan is built with a steel frame and equipped with 6 airbags. Remember this the next time you see someone walking. Drivers, be aware. Pedestrians don't have armor. A message from the California Office of Traffic Safety. The average SUV has 2 blind spots, weighs between 4,000 and 6,000 pounds, and takes about 6 seconds to stop. Remember this the next time you're on foot. Pay attention, people. Pedestrians don't have armor. A message from the California Office of Traffic Safety.
All right, and welcome back to the GSMC Sports Podcast. Want to say thanks again to Tate for coming on for that first segment. Always fun talking sports with him, especially boxing. I mean, there's not too many, I'd say boxing, like there's not too many casual boxing fans or anything like that. Now I'd say it's just more so the hardcore fans left, and even then, so I think boxing's done a pretty good job to push those away. But like I said, it's always good to talk fights with him, and I did not realize that the judges gave Canelo that 12th round, and that's kind of where, I mean, boxing, like I said, boxing will be boxing there. Maybe you give a 4th round, because I see the 4th round they gave it to Triple. Like, let me go through the scorecard, actually, and go what each judge had it. So for the judge, the first judge that ruled it, 115, 113, Dave Moretti, he gave Triple G the 1st round, gave Canelo the 2nd and 3rd, Triple G the 4th, Canelo the 5th and 6th, Triple G the 7th, Canelo the 8th and 9th, and then Triple G the 10th and 11th, and then the 12th going to Canelo. I gave 10, 11, 12 to Triple G, so I guess if I would have, like I said, I think I would have gave maybe that 7th round to Canelo, because like I said, I thought he run a lot of the middle rounds there. As far as, you look at Glenn Feldman, he gave Triple G the 1st round, Canelo rounds 2, 3, Triple G 4, Canelo 5, 6, 7, and 8, and then Triple G 9 through 12. And then you look at Steve Weisfeld's scorecard. He gave Triple G round 1, Canelo 2 and 3, Triple G 4, then Canelo 5, 6, and 7, Triple G 8, Canelo 9, and then 10 and 11 to Triple G, and then 12 to Canelo. I don't get how you give Canelo that final round. I don't know how you give Canelo rounds 10 through 11, But obviously those judges felt the need to give it to him there. Either way, now we move on from that and we move on to the NFL. Let's recap. Let's get it going. So, first game, Panthers-Falcons. We're going to do quick strike here. Falcons did well finally to take advantage of their red zone opportunities. Falcons hit the red zone 4 times. How many touchdowns in the red zone did they score, Jesse? You ask? They scored 4 touchdowns. I mean, I've kind of given up on the whole yelling into this mic about their red zone struggles, and it just basically said they're not a good red zone team, and until they fix it up, they fix it up. Either way, in this game, they finally got it right. And I'm not going to go out and say they got their problems all together. They got it all fixed up. I need to see this week in and week out. There is no reason for the Falcons to hit the red zone and not come out with a touchdown more times than not, meaning they hit it 4 times here. I could see maybe you get 3 touchdowns out of 4 red zone trips and a field goal, fine. But if you're going to the red zone 4 times and you're only getting a touchdown, the rest are field goals or turnovers, that's a problem. So I'm not going to go and say the Falcons fixed up their red zone issues, but I will say this is a start here. They do it more consistently, then the issues are fixed up. I yelled at Vegas on Friday for making the Falcons 6-point favorites. Vegas, I apologize. The Falcons covered, winning this one by 7. As for Carolina, I'm not worried or anything like that. I still got them winning the division. I didn't expect them to come out and win in Atlanta. I expect them to win in Carolina. So like I said, you had the Falcons winning that one, 31-24. Then, I mean, we need circus music right here. We need the for the Buffalo Bills. They lose to the Chargers 31-20. I'm not even worried about that. You got Vontae Davis, former cornerback of the Buffalo Bills, who decides to retire at halftime. Yes, you heard that right. He retired at halftime, did not come out for the second half. Not in my life. I've been around for 21 years. I've been watching football or sports since I could remember, literally. That's all I've ever done is just watch sports. My cousins used to hate when I used to come sleep over because Saturday morning, you know what I was turning on? I was turning on SportsCenter. If it was Sunday, we were watching the football game. We're not watching no Saturday morning cartoons when I'm in the house. Like I said, it's a 5-year-old and all that. That's what I was doing. So since I've been watching sports and can remember, I have never, ever seen anything like that where a player retires at halftime. Never. That is ridiculous. I don't hate it. It's kind of funny, but if you're a Buffalo Bills fan, you kind of got to put the paper bag over your head and just poke holes in it and all that, like make the paper bag face is what I mean. And just wear that around every time you go to games. That is, it's honestly incredible how that happened. Vontae Davis was a very good cornerback with the Miami Dolphins. Had some good years with Indianapolis, and this is after that, it was a wrap. So, Buffalo loses 31-20 to the Chargers. And, when things like this happen to a team, that's when you kind of think, okay, maybe this team doesn't win a game. Like, that is embarrassing and hilarious for non-Buffalo Bills fans. If I'm a Buffalo Bills fan, I'm done with the season. I'm going to turn on Madden. Okay? I'm going to boost up Josh Allen's rating numbers or whatnot, whatever you call them. And I'm just going to play the season out that way. Instead of watching the game on Sunday, I will play a game. You could set the time to 15-minute quarters and just do that for 3 hours. Because why, oh why, would you watch this Bills team? Why are you going to give your money to this Bills team? I have no clue. Either way, like I said, Chargers win that one 31-20. And it happened again, you guys. It happened again. We had another tie. How? What? It's the NFL needs to do something about ties. I can't have a tie. I was talking with Tate earlier today about ties, how the NFL needs to get rid of them. He disagreed because, you take away ties, you could be having 5 different overtimes. I get that. What if we meet in the middle here? A second overtime, about 10 minutes long. If no one scores in that overtime, no, we'll do another second 15-minute overtime. If no one scores in that period of time, then you call it a tie. At least do that. I can't have it where we have ties. I don't like that. And I don't like the fact that you got Clay Matthews getting flagged for roughing the passer penalty when he arm tackles Kirk Cousins. I watched that play multiple times. Okay? And I couldn't find an instance where I could side with the ref. I was trying to give the ref the benefit of the doubt, just so we could move on from it. But I couldn't. He literally arm tackles him and pretty much wraps him as if he's his child and basically protects him and doesn't really put his full body weight on him. How do you give Clay Matthews a roughing the passer penalty for arm tackling? It makes no sense there. So either way, that game ended 29-29. I mean, Kirk Cousins, besides the tie, he's looked very good in these first two games with the Vikings. I mean, I don't think I've ever seen Kirk Cousins throw for over 400 yards and 4 touchdowns, but nonetheless, here he did. 425 yards, 4 touchdowns for the Vikings there. Again, game ends in a 29-29 tie. Shout out to Dan Carlson, who was cut. Dan Bailey is now brought on to be the new Vikings kicker. Then you got the Texans, the Titans, who played in Tennessee. Deshaun Watson, 310 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. That's not the story. The story is the Titans once again did well without Marcus Mariota. Last week they lost, but when Blaine Gabbert was in there, they were a much better team. And I'm not saying Blaine Gabbert is better than Mariota. I might be, but I'm not going to say that out loud. Blaine Gabbert plays in this one. Does he do anything? No. He throws for about 117 yards. But what is the biggest thing here? They win. Maybe Blaine Gabbert can be having a Case Keenum type of renaissance where your first few years were absolutely terrible. And now, late on in your career, you finally want to turn it up. But either way, Gabbert, 117 yards and a touchdown there. Like I said, I'm not going to go and say that Gabbert needs to start going forward. But Tennessee does have a problem with Marcus Mariota. You move on to the Browns and Saints. Cue the circus music. Zane Gonzalez. I feel bad, but I don't. You're a professional kicker. The kicks that he missed in this game weren't too difficult. He wasn't missing 50-plus yarders. He was missing 30, 40 type yarders. You're a professional kicker. You shouldn't be missing this way. And you shouldn't be on the team the next day if it's like that. Browns lose 21-18 to the Saints because their kicker couldn't do his job. And I'm not leaving the Saints off the hook here. The Saints looked terrible in the first 2 weeks. Okay, great. You got to win week 2. But it was against the Browns team that, yes, the Browns are more talented than they were last year. But the Saints should be a whole lot better than the Browns this year. And they struggled weeks 1 and weeks 2. Then we got the Dolphins and Jets. I didn't buy into the hype that the New York media and the national media was trying to sell me. Did not buy it one bit. Made the Dolphins my lock of the weekend to win, and they did just that, winning 20-12. Sam Darnold, the Jets definitely do have something in him, but he's a rookie. He played like a rookie in this game, throwing 2 picks, one being a costly interception in the end zone right after Ryan Tannehill just straight up dropped the ball, and the Jets recovered that. Again, I think Sam Darnold will be a very good quarterback, but don't give me this whole the Jets are back type of thing. They're still going to go 6-10, 7-9. Then you got the Chiefs and Steelers. Patrick Mahomes is for real. He threw 6 touchdowns he threw for 326 yards with 6 touchdowns. The guy has a cannon of an arm. Travis Kelce, 7 receptions, 109 yards, 2 touchdowns. Tyreek Hill came away with a touchdown. Chris Conley came away with a touchdown. Kareem Hunt came away with a touchdown. Demarcus Robinson came away with a touchdown. Do you guys see what's going on there? Mahomes is dominating defenses by spreading the ball out. You look at James Conner on Pittsburgh's side of the ball, 8 carries, 17 yards, and a touchdown. Maybe you do need Le'Veon Bell. You look at Ben Roethlisberger, threw the ball 60 times for 452 yards and 3 touchdowns. This Pittsburgh team is a bit fractured, I'd say. Eagles-Bucks. Fitzmagic continues on. 402 yards, 4 touchdowns. Deshaun Jackson always tends to play well against his former team. 4 receptions, 129 yards, and a touchdown there. Bucks won that one 27-21. Carson Wentz will be back week 3 against the Colts, according to the Eagles. Andrew Luck, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, and a 21-9 win against the Redskins. Luck didn't necessarily throw for a bunch of yards or anything like that, only threw the ball 31 times. Either way, did enough to get the job done. It is ridiculous how well this guy elevates the players around him. Like I said, Colts win that one 21-9. Rams, Cardinals, nothing needs to be said about this game. Rams took care of business, won this one 34-0. I mean, we can wait as long as we want. Josh Rosen needs to be the starter of this Cardinals team. Lions, 49ers. 49ers nearly blew it, but they didn't. 49ers hold on. The Lions, I'd say, are a bad team. I feel comfortable saying that. I mean, the Niners were up 30-13 at one point. It came close, but like I said, they handled business there. Looking at Jimmy Garoppolo, he did play better in this one. Not great, and I don't think he's gotten to the form that he was at last year. But he threw for 206 yards, 2 touchdowns, and then you had Matt Stafford with 347 yards and 3 touchdowns. Matt Breida, was a monster. 138 yards rushing on 11 carries and a touchdown there. We move on from that game, which again, the 49ers won 30-27. Broncos, Raiders. Gruden's 0-2. Derek Carr, 268 yards and a touchdown. Amari Cooper caught 11 passes for 117 yards. Carr at least looked his way, but the Raiders shouldn't have lost this game. They were up 19-10 in the fourth, gave up 10 points. Broncos win this one 20-19. Case Keenum, no passing touchdowns, 1 interception, but you can tell it does make a difference for this Broncos team. Then the game I was most excited about for the weekend, Patriots-Jags. Jags made the Patriots look like the little brother in the AFC. That doesn't really happen often. Jags win this one 31-20. Blake Bortles, 377 yards, 4 touchdowns. Jalen Ramsey talking all week long. Well, not all week long, but has talked about Rob Gronkowski saying he's not as good as advertised. They backed it up. 2 receptions, 15 yards for Gronk, no touchdowns. Tom Brady, 234 yards passing, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. For some reason, teams like to help out the Patriots. Josh Gordon is now a New England Patriot, was traded over from Cleveland for a 5th-round pick. My fantasy team is going to take a huge jump because of that also. And then for the Sunday night game, the final game to cover for this segment, Giants-Cowboys. Cowboys win this one 20-13. The Giants look like just a flat-out a bad team. Eli Manning looks terrible. The offensive line is terrible. The Cowboys took care of business here. I will give props to Dak Prescott. Numbers don't jump out, but if you watch the game, you could tell he played well. Ezekiel Elliott played well, and that Cowboys defense was fast and was quick to the ball. So the Cowboys win this one 20-13. We're going to wrap up the segment here. Next up, I will be talking MLB news, so stay tuned, and I will be right back.
The average sedan is built with a steel frame and equipped with 6 airbags. Remember this the next time you see someone walking. Drivers, be aware. Pedestrians don't have armor. A message from the California Office of Traffic Safety.
All right, and welcome back to the GSMC Sports Podcast. So far today, for that first segment, I had Tate on to talk Canelo versus Triple G. Also gave some thoughts on a Floyd versus Manny Pacquiao rematch, I guess you could say. Second segment, I quickly recapped each NFL game, gave some thoughts on each of the teams that played. And now, we move on and talk baseball. We've hit the final 2 weeks of this season, and things are definitely heating up. Things have changed. The NL West division saw a new division leader, and now, like I said, we're getting to the fun part of the baseball season. Stinks that it has to happen later on, but nonetheless, this is the best part. You got Mookie Betts this weekend, who left the Red Sox game with an injury. He says he's fine. Boston can't afford to lose that guy. I mean, simply put, they can't. It's not that hard. They do. They have no shot in the postseason. So if I'm Alex Cora, I am completely being safe as far as how I manage Mookie bets. You lose Mookie, you lose any chance of the World Series. Anything else going on in the world of baseball? I mean, there's not much going on. Like I said, I mean, I don't think we've talked about Aaron. Oh, yeah, I don't think we did talk about Aaron Judge being activated off the DL. But even if we did, we'll talk about it again. Aaron Judge has been activated off the DL, got activated off the DL on Friday. He's not going to be hitting or playing or anything like that. Well, if he plays, it'll be for defensive purposes only. He won't hit, and only for base running reasons. And I don't really understand why you have him on the base path. I mean, I guess if his wrist is completely held up, and it's just the fact that it feels discomfort when he hits, not when he slides head first or anything like that, then yeah, you do it. But, I mean, I'm keeping Aaron Judge in bubble wrap until he can hit the baseball. I mean, I get that he's a player that the Yankees definitely need, but there's no point in rushing him back. So we'll see what ends up happening with him there. As far as anything else, I mean, like I said, now we've just hit the final stretch of the MLB season. Let's take a look at these scores from Friday to Sunday, and then look at the games going on today. So for Friday, the 14th, you had the White Sox beating the Orioles 8-6. The Yankees beat the Blue Jays 11-0 there. You had the Phillies beating the Marlins 14-2. Mets beat up on the Red Sox 8-0. Noah Syndergaard was dominant there. Noah Syndergaard's 12-3 this season again. I mean, win-loss records don't necessarily mean much for pitchers, but either way, it's always nice to see that a pitcher on the Mets is getting wins for his hard work. Either way, like I said, I mean, Red Sox had no shot on that one. Mets won that one 8-0. Tigers beat the Indians 5-4. A's beat the Tampa Bay Rays in 10 innings 2-1. You had the Braves beating the Nationals 10-5. Dodgers opened up their series with the Cardinals with a 3-0 win there. Cubs beat the Reds 3-2. Brewers beat the Pirates 7-4. Diamondbacks beat the Astros 4-2. Royals beat the Twins 8-4. Mariners beat the Angels 5-0. Rangers beat the Padres 4-0. Giants beat the Rockies 2-0 there. Rockies only coming away with 2 hits on Friday's game. As for Saturday the 15th, Nationals beat the Braves 7-1. Dodgers, another big win. Yasiel Puig, 3 home runs, also helped the Dodgers overtake that second wildcard spot. At that time, like I said, the Dodgers won that one 17-4. Indians beat the Tigers 15-0. Blue Jays beat the Yankees 8-7. Red Sox beat the Mets 5-3 with Rick Porcello getting the win there. He's 17-7 when he pitches. Cubs beat the Reds 1-0. Rays beat the A's 7-5. White Sox beat the Orioles 2-0. Phillies beat the Marlins 5-4. Pirates beat the Brewers 3-1. Astros beat the Diamondbacks 10-4. Royals beat the Twins 10-3. Rangers beat the Padres 6-3. You had the Giants beating the Rockies 3-0. Mariners beat the Angels 6-5. Obviously, if you're paying attention to these scores, the Rockies didn't necessarily do too well to maintain their NL West lead. And as for Sunday's games, Orioles beat the White Sox 8-4. Red Sox beat the Mets 4-3. Blue Jays beat the Yankees 3-2. Tigers beat the Indians 6-4. Rays beat the A's 5-4, but the A's really didn't lose ground considering the Yankees had a bad series against the Blue Jays. Nationals beat the Braves 6-4. Marlins beat the Phillies 6-4. Pirates beat the Brewers 3-2. You had the Astros beating the Diamondbacks 5-4. Justin Verlander with the win there. Twins beating the Royals 9-6. Reds beat the Cubs 2-1. Rockies finally got a win against the Giants 3-2 there. Angels beat the Mariners 4-3. You had the Padres beating the Rangers 7-3. And the Cardinals were able to finally take a win 5-0 against the Dodgers. As for Monday's matchups, let's take a look at it. Currently, I'm in August's calendar, which isn't great as far as where I'm searching. But for Monday, the 17th of September, right now you get the Blue Jays and Orioles currently in a delay. Mets, Phillies currently playing. That one's in the bottom of the first. Royals, Pirates, that one's in the top of the first. A lot of these games starting up since it's 4 o'clock currently as I'm recording this. Twins, Tigers in the top of the first. Nationals, Marlins, top 1. Then later on, you get the Cardinals, Braves. Reds, Brewers, Rays, Rangers, Mariners, Astros, Cubs, Diamondbacks, Rockies, Dodgers. I mean, this is about as big as it gets for an end of the season type of series. You got Giants, Padres also. Looking at the current MLB standings, like I said, make sure you pay attention to that Rockies and Dodgers series. But for the MLB standings, the Red Sox, I believe, start a series with the Yankees on Tuesday, can clinch the AL East division if they win enough in that series. Red Sox currently 11.5 up on the Yankees. Indians finally officially won their division, clinched their division, so we can stop talking about that. The Astros are currently 4.5 up on the A's. I feel pretty comfortable saying the Astros will be division champs. Braves up 6.5 games on the Phillies. It's just a matter of time before they clinch their division. Cubs did well to create space between them and the Brewers over the weekend. They are currently 2.5 games up on the Brewers, 5.5 up on the Cardinals. The Rockies did lose the lead in the NL West for a short period of time, but did regain it. They're currently a half game up on the Dodgers and 4.5 up on the Diamondbacks. Again, a pivotal series between LA and the Rockies starting tonight, where, I mean, if the Dodgers end up winning this series, they will be the division leaders coming out of it. Looking at the wild card race. Yankees, I mean, with the A's dropping 2 out of 3 against the Rays, did not do anything to help themselves. They dropped 2 out of 3 against the Blue Jays, like I said, and they're only a game and a half up on the A's. Yankees currently lost 2 in a row, 4-6 in their last 10. A's have lost 2 in a row, but are 7-3 in their last 10. The Rays are 7 games back. I mean, they're not going to problem, but they most likely will, almost certainly won't end up making one of those 2 wildcard spots, but are we quick to write them off? Brewers in the NL wildcard race, 3 games up on the Cardinals, who currently sit in that second spot. I mean, it's pretty much a tie between the Cardinals and Dodgers in that second spot. Both have the same winning percentage and all. Either way, it seems like it's a 3-team race now. Diamondbacks 4 games back of the Dodgers and Cardinals for whoever you want to give that second spot to. So, like I said, I mean, this is the best time of the MLB season. We got the playoffs coming up soon. We got the season ending. We're going to have the Red Sox most likely win the division in New York, which, I mean, you know, the beat writers are going to love. The national media is going to love. And I wonder how many of those games are on ESPN. But either way, I mean, there's not much else going on in the MLB. Yasiel Puig heating up at the right time, I will say that. You had Marley Rivera tweeter writing out today that the Yankees said that Aaron Judge had 11 live at-bats in a simulated game at Yankee Stadium. He faced A.J. Cole, Chance Adams, and minor leaguer Phillip Diehl. I mean, the Yankees want to go far in the postseason. It's obvious they need Judge. We'll see if they end up getting him. Well, yeah, they will get him back, but it's just a matter of when, I guess. So that's all I got to say about that. We're going to wrap it up here. Next segment, the 4th segment, I will be talking about anything else going on in the world of sports. So stay tuned, and I will be right back.
The average SUV has 2 blind spots, weighs between 4,000 and 6,000 pounds, and takes about 6 seconds to stop. Remember this the next time you're on foot. Pay attention, people. Pedestrians don't have armor. A message from the California Office of Traffic Safety.
All right, and welcome back to the GSMC Sports Podcast. So far today, I talked with Tate in that first segment about Canelo Triple G, Floyd versus Pacquiao. Second segment, I talked about the games on Sunday from the NFL. Third segment, I talked MLB. Now we will talk a bit about the Monday Night Football game coming up soon. This show will be coming out during that game, so, I mean,
it'll sound a little bit odd, but either way, we'll be previewing it still, giving some thoughts. But before we get into all that, we will be talking about anything else going on in the world of sports. So over in the NBA, Dwayne Wade announced he will return for one final season with the Miami Heat. I'm going to be in Miami, I think, at the end of November. We'll be catching the Bills-Dolphins game along with the Pelicans and Heat game. So definitely watching Anthony Davis play and Dwayne Wade play will be a bit of a treat. I hate using the word treat. I'm never using that again. Either way, it'll be fun. But, I mean, Dwayne Wade, without a doubt, a first ballot Hall of Famer, one of the greatest shooting guards to ever do it. And I can't wait till eventually people try to discredit how good he was, because that will happen just due to the newer generations and all that, not being able to watch him. But Dwayne Wade, definitely one of the best to ever do it at his position. Definitely, I mean, a big part of those championship teams. And, I mean, like I said, it's just great that he ended up finding his way back to Miami after he left for Chicago. And then, I don't think we'll ever really think about that stint he had in Cleveland. Like, I don't think we'll ever, actually talk about how that happened. I literally forgot for a little bit that he did play in Cleveland. And that should have never happened. But it did. So we move on. Let's see anything else going on in the NBA. Jimmy Butler going to be talking about his Timberwolves future with Tom Thibodeau. That was first reported by Shams Charania. I believe that's how you pronounce his last name. I think he currently works for The Athletic, was formerly of Yahoo Sports. Either way, I mean, Jimmy Butler has gotten the short end of the stick a lot in his NBA career. Jimmy Butler's the guy who's basically tried to escape the nonsense and just play basketball and lead a team, but he hasn't been able to. I mean, with the Bulls, it was always about him or Derrick Rose, who is the leader of that team and all. And then now with the Timberwolves, I mean, Tom Thibodeau's basically brought on the Chicago Bulls to come play for this team. Jimmy Butler belongs in San Antonio. Jimmy Butler belongs in Boston. Jimmy Butler belongs in those places because of the fact that those places just play basketball. There's no outside noise. Those are one of the few franchises still left where, I mean, the team goal is to win a championship. No one's really in there for themselves. I mean, you got Terry Rozier out there in Boston who probably should be a starter for some NBA team right now, but isn't really worried about that. He says he's more worried about winning a title. Same with San Antonio. They don't really worry about that outside noise. But I guess that's just the way it goes in the NBA, and I don't understand why Tom Thibodeau would bring on all those Bulls players, those former Bulls players. But like I said, it's just the way that things go for Jimmy Butler, and I'm almost positive Jimmy Butler will not be a Minnesota Timberwolf after this season. I mean, there's no reason for him to be. Let's take a look at the college football scores over the weekend. Herm Edwards, you do good one week, then you lose to San Diego State the next. Either way, looking at number 1 Alabama, I mean, they're clearly the best team in the nation. I don't think there's anyone on their level, even with how good Ohio State has looked. Alabama is it's absurd how good they are. They beat Ole Miss 62-7. Clemson beat Georgia Southern 38-7. You had Georgia beating Middle Tennessee 49-7. Ohio State beat 15th ranked TCU 40-28. Let's see how many of those predictions I got right. I think I made my predictions Friday on the GSMC football podcast. So I know I picked Bama, I picked Clemson, I picked Georgia, I picked Ohio State. And like I said, they beat TCU 40-28. Oklahoma beat Iowa State 37-27. That's one I got right. I got Wisconsin wrong. I don't know what happened here, but I mean, Alex Hornibrook, not that great of a quarterback. BYU beat Wisconsin. In Wisconsin, by the way. In Wisconsin. 24-21. I did pick LSU against Auburn. Very glad about that one. Ed Orgeron, I mean, wasn't really given a fair chance as far as media and all that to do well with LSU, but he's handled it well. Beat Miami and has now beat 7th-ranked Auburn. Beat him 22-21. They won on a Cole Tracy 42-yard field goal as time expired. Notre Dame beat Vanderbilt 22-17. I picked that one right. Notre Dame, not impressive at all to me. I picked Stanford against UC Davis. They won that one 30-10. I picked Utah against Washington. I did get that one wrong. Washington won that one 21-7. Myles Gaskin, 30 carries, 143 yards, and a touchdown. Penn State beat Kent State 63-10. Mississippi State beat Louisiana 56-10. You had Oklahoma State beating Boise State. I believe I got that pick right also. Michigan beat SMU 45-20. Oregon beat San Jose State 35-22. I think San Jose State ended up covering in this game. Miami beat Toledo 49-24. I got that USC and Texas game completely wrong. Texas won that one 37-14. I know all the Texas fans are going to think, oh yeah, this is finally going to be a good year. No, it's not. Texas still isn't good. I got Arizona State versus San Diego State wrong. San Diego State won that one 28-21. Of course, with Arizona State beating Michigan State, it's only right that they drop a game against a lesser team in San Diego State. And then for the games that were canceled due to the hurricane, it was UCF North Carolina, West Virginia versus NC State, and then Virginia Tech versus East Carolina. So that's what happened this weekend in college football. Is there anything else I'm currently missing before we move on to the NFL? Let's take a look and see before we talk about tonight's Monday Night Football game. Like I said, Josh Gordon traded to the Patriots for a 5th-round pick. I mean, Tom Brady gets yet again another weapon. And I see a lot of people are comparing Josh Gordon to Randy Moss. Let's pump the brakes a bit. I don't understand why people try to act like Randy Moss had off-the-field problems while he was in the NFL. I know he did have problems while he was in college and before he went to college, but as far as his off-the-field stuff in the NFL, unless I'm just completely forgetting something, I don't think he was really that much of a problem. Antonio Brown was tweeted at by a Steelers fan about how Ben Roethlisberger makes him and he wouldn't be as good. So Antonio Brown quote tweets that and basically says, trade me and let's find out. I mean, it's not going very good over there in the Steel City, is it? Definitely not. That team needs Le'Veon Bell, and it's not a secret anymore. And I don't understand Steeler fans, why they're so for the team and all that. Why they'll never be for the players. I mean, it's ridiculous. Let's see. John Gruden says he has no regrets about the Khalil Mack trade, even though he's been telling us after each week how they need to put more pressure on the quarterback, and he's not sure how they do that. I mean, it's ridiculous. Zane Gonzalez is out in Cleveland. They signed Greg Joseph, who was cut by the Miami Dolphins after the preseason. So let's talk about briefly this Monday Night Football game now. We got Seattle heading over to Chicago. Chicago 4-point favorites. I'm going to go with Seattle in this one. Chicago kind of scared me in that last game against Green Bay. I mean, the way they completely shut down in the second half was not encouraging at all. And I just think that when you got Russell Wilson and Pete Carroll, both top 5 at what they do, I think they'll always keep you in games. Plus, Trubisky has this problem where everyone says he can't throw left. We'll see what he does here. Either way, I like the Seahawks, and I think they will be coming away with the win. So that's all I got to say for today's show. Today, we talk Canelo Triple G. Again, thanks for Tate for coming on to talk that. Also talk Floyd versus Manny Pacquiao. Second segment, I talked NFL games over on Sunday. Third segment, I talked MLB news. And then for the fourth segment, which was this segment, gave my pick for tonight's game. Gave these scores for this weekend's college football games. And talked about Dwayne Wade briefly. So thanks for listening to the GSMC Sports Podcast. As always, I am your host, Jesse Tapia. I will be back tomorrow, so stay tuned, and I will talk to you guys later.
You've been listening to the Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast, part of the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. You can find this show and others like it at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Download our podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and Google Play. Just type in GSMC to find all the shows from the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network, from movies to music, from sports to entertainment, and even weird news. You can also follow us on Twitter and on Facebook. Thank you, and we hope you have enjoyed today's program.